What I saw was fun, never anything inappropriate. What I saw was work and play.
For millions in the late 80s and early 90s, The Cosby Show was more than a hit sitcom. It was a cultural landmark. Central to its success was Phylicia Rashad as Claire Huxtable, the graceful, intelligent matriarch who earned praise as one of television's most beloved mothers. The show reshaped portrayals of African-American families with humor and heart. Now 77, Rashad is reflecting on the truth behind the scenes. In recent interviews, she has offered rare insights into the pressures of upholding the show's image, the atmosphere on set, and the complicated legacy of its star, Bill Cosby. For the first time, she invites us into the world hidden beyond the cameras, one marked by challenges, loyalty, and quiet strength. Phylicia once said, "You don't get to play Claire Huxtable by accident. You have to walk with a certain grace, hold your space with purpose, and carry history in your voice." And she's right. It's that sense of gravity, the dignity in her voice, the elegance in her posture, and the depth behind her eyes that has made Phylicia Rashad more than just a beloved actress, but a powerful icon. To understand why she holds such a powerful presence in American culture today and is still revered across generations, we have to start at the beginning. Before the fame, before the Broadway ovations and primetime stardom, there was simply a young girl from Texas, shaped by music, language, and the conviction that art could elevate the human spirit. An early life and childhood shaped by excellence. Phylicia Rashad was born Phylicia Ayers Allen on the 19th of June, 1948, in Houston, Texas. She was the second of 4 children in a remarkably talented and intellectually driven family. Her mother, Vivian Ayers, was a Pulitzer Prize-nominated poet, playwright, and academic who passed on to her children a reverence for literature, culture, and the arts. Her father, Andrew Arthur Allen, was an orthodontist who emphasized discipline, education, and excellence. Though her parents divorced when she was young, the values they instilled in their children endured, so her childhood was rich in creativity and ambition. Her sister, Debbie Allen, would even go on to become a legendary choreographer and director. Their household was a laboratory or safe haven for expression, filled with books, music, and conversations that challenged them to think critically and dream fearlessly. Unfortunately, unlike in modern times now, Houston then, in the 50s and 60s, was not always welcoming to black excellence, but the Ayers-Allen household refused to shrink in the face of racial inequality. Vivian Ayers took her children to Mexico during Phylicia's teenage years to escape the racism of the Jim Crow South and to expose them to a different world where their talents could be nurtured without the limits imposed by segregation. That move, while unusual, was a bold one that helped shape Phylicia's overall view of the world and of herself. From an early age, Phylicia knew she was meant to perform. Whether it was music, theater, or dance, she immersed herself fully. She was particularly drawn to the stage, a place she believed to be the sacred space where story and truth could converge. After graduating from Howard University in 1970 with a degree in theater, a feat she completed with magna cum laude honors, she dove headfirst into the professional world. Howard was crucial in initially shaping her into the woman she'd become. It wasn't just a college, but a crucible for black excellence. She studied under luminaries and developed a powerful stage presence that commanded attention. There, she refined her voice, mastered her craft, and developed the intellectual rigor that would distinguish her work for decades to come. Before television made her a household name, Phylicia earned her stripes in theater. Her early work on Broadway included roles in Dreamgirls, The Wiz, and Ain't Supposed to Die a Natural Death. She wasn't limited to these, though. She also performed in more classically rooted productions such as Shakespeare and Greek dramas, something few black actresses were offered at the time. She made a deliberate decision in the late 1970s to adopt the surname Rashad after marrying NFL player and sportscaster Ahmad Rashad in what was her third marriage. Though their union would later end, the name would become synonymous with her strength, intelligence, and elegance. On stage, she developed a reputation for being technically brilliant and emotionally present, always able to embody roles that were both deeply human and spiritually resonant. In many ways, she was ahead of her time, a black woman on Broadway, delivering layered performances in spaces where people of color were still often viewed with suspicion. She didn't just open doors, she announced her presence as she walked through them with such force and grace that others felt compelled to follow. What made her special wasn't just her acting chops, but her presence. She carried herself with a kind of elegant ease that commanded respect without demanding it. She didn't have to raise her voice to be heard. Whether in a rehearsal room, a classroom, or on screen, people listened when she spoke. Her ability to project intelligence and warmth made her a natural choice for roles that required a stage aura of teachers, mothers, counselors, or spiritual guides. There was always something refined, even regal, about her performances. She had a way of making grace feel familiar, like something within reach. As her career grew, she didn't simply take, she gave back. In the 1990s and 2000s, she became a respected director, particularly in the theater world. She directed productions of August Wilson's plays, including Gem of the Ocean and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, doing great justice to such complex works. She also returned to Howard University as Dean of the Chadwick A. Boseman College of Fine Arts, a full-circle moment that underscored her commitment to nurturing the next generation of black artists. As dean, she emphasized not just artistic excellence, but cultural responsibility, encouraging students to see their work as part of a greater narrative. It's not an exaggeration to say that generations of black performers have drawn inspiration from her example. She has mentored, uplifted, and taught hundreds of students, many of whom have gone on to thrive in theater, film, and television. Her influence, in this regard, is immeasurable. Such a long and glorious career is unmistakably also decorated and adorned with various awards and accolades. Throughout her career, Phylicia has stacked up a collection of honors that testify to her brilliance. In 2004, she became the first black woman to win the Tony Award for Best Actress in a play for her role as Lena Younger in A Raisin in the Sun. That performance was a masterclass in restraint, emotion, and dignity for others after her to study. She has also won NAACP Image Awards, BET Honors, Drama Desk nominations, and in 2016, she received the Lucille Lortel Award for Outstanding Lead Actress. In 2021, she was appointed Dean of her alma mater's College of Fine Arts, marking a new chapter in her role as a leader and educator. In an industry that often chases youth and novelty, Phylicia has remained timeless. She continues to act in film and television, with recent roles in series like Empire, This Is Us, David Makes Man, and films like Creed and Soul. In each of these, she brings the same dignity, wisdom, and emotional precision that defined her earlier work. Her relevance goes beyond her performances. In the age of social media, cultural discourse, and racial reckoning, she represents a kind of aspiration and excellence that many look to for guidance, especially black women. She is unapologetically black, unapologetically intellectual, and deeply grounded in her spiritual and cultural heritage. What makes Phylicia Rashad iconic today isn't just her resume, it's what she represents. In a world saturated with noise and spectacle, she reminds us of the power of depth, patience, and grace. She's a cultural North Star for many, particularly Black women, who see in her the embodiment of strength without hardness, elegance without ego, and intellect without pretense. She has become the kind of elder that every community needs, someone who has walked the road with integrity and now lights the way for others. Her journey from Houston to Broadway, from primetime television to university leadership, is not just a career, it's a legacy. Yet, for all the reverence and ovations she commands, there is another side to Phylicia's story, one more complicated, more controversial, and deeply tied to one of television's most treasured and troubled shows. Before we can fully understand her legacy, we must explore the role that brought her global fame, The Cosby Show, and we will take a look at what it meant, what it cost to be the face of a dream built on complicated truths. It's important to remember that Phylicia was already a force before the world met Claire Huxtable. The controversial Cosby Show that defined a generation and impacted her in more ways than one. In the late 1980s, American television was on the verge of a major cultural shift, though few could have predicted just how big it would be. The shift came from The Cosby Show, a sitcom built around comedian Bill Cosby's vision of a warm, successful Black family. What followed, enacting that vision, was a national phenomenon. The Cosby Show became one of the most successful and influential programs in television history, not only for its ratings, but for the way it transformed the perception of Black families in the minds of Americans. At the center of that groundbreaking portrayal was Phylicia Rashad, a woman who brought unmatched elegance, intelligence, and emotional depth to the role of Claire Huxtable. Before she became Claire, though, before the show became appointment viewing on Thursday nights, The Cosby Show was just an idea, one that would end up redefining not just television, but the cultural landscape for an entire generation. The idea for The Cosby Show was rooted in Bill Cosby's desire to present a positive, a realistic portrayal of a Black family, one grounded in love, discipline, and upward mobility, instead of the usual negative or derogatory descriptions. Throughout the 1970s, Black families on television were typically represented through working-class shows like Good Times or Sanford and Son, or hyper-stylized dramas where class, intellect, and family structure were not often explored properly. While these shows offered important visibility, they rarely centered around the view of a professional, stable, upper-middle-class Black household. Bill envisioned something different, a sitcom that would reflect his own life as a college-educated, successful Black man raising children in a two-parent household. The Huxtables would be an aspirational but relatable family, where the parents were professionals, namely a doctor and a lawyer. The children were unique individuals, and humor was built from love rather than dysfunction. This concept was initially met with skepticism. Network executives at NBC were unsure whether audiences, especially white audiences, would embrace a show about a successful Black family that did not fit into familiar media tropes. Still, Bill Cosby pushed forward, insisting that the show be rooted in authenticity and subtlety, not caricature or slapstick. That vision would eventually become the foundation of a cultural juggernaut. As producers began to assemble the cast, one of the most critical decisions was who would play Claire Huxtable, the matriarch of the family. The role demanded an actress who could project strength, sophistication, warmth, and wit, someone who could go toe-to-toe with Bill Cosby's charisma without being overshadowed. It wasn't enough to be funny. The actress had to carry authority and compassion in equal measure. Initially, the role was written as a stay-at-home mother, but after Phylicia auditioned, that changed. Her presence was undeniable. She radiated intelligence, moved with a calm confidence, and spoke with a rhythm and poise that immediately reshaped how the producers envisioned Claire. After seeing her audition, Cosby reportedly reimagined the character as a lawyer, elevating her from supportive homemaker to equal intellectual partner in the Huxtable household. Phylicia brought with her a rich background in theater, which added depth to her performance. She wasn't just acting in front of a live audience. She was embodying a kind of woman that had rarely been seen on television, and from her very first scene, it was clear she was Claire Huxtable. The Cosby Show premiered on NBC on the 20th of September, 1984. By the end of its first season, it was a smash hit, sitting at number 3 in the Nielsen ratings. By its second season, it was number 1, and it would remain at the top for 5 straight years, an unprecedented feat for any television program. The appeal was instant and widespread. Black audiences saw themselves in the Huxtables in a way they rarely had before, while white audiences saw a version of black family life that defied familiar narratives. The Huxtables weren't anomalies. They were simply a well-drawn, relatable family that happened to be black. The genius of the show was that it was specific in its cultural origin, yet universal in its themes. The Huxtable household became iconic. The brownstone, the jazz records, the sweaters, the dance sequences, the heartfelt talks all combined to create something that felt homely and relatable. As Claire Huxtable, Phylicia was magnetic. She wasn't just any TV mom. She was the TV mom of the era. Claire was a sharp, high-powered attorney who balanced career and motherhood without sacrificing her grace or her authority. She was not the comic foil to her husband, nor a silent figure in the background. She was every bit as funny, firm, and talented as Cliff. What made Claire unique was that she was allowed to be many things, from a partner, a parent, a professional, to a disciplinarian, and a romantic. Her scenes with Bill were filled with mutual respect and chemistry. Her scenes with the children, especially when delivering sharp, loving rebukes, became the stuff of television legend. Perhaps most memorably was how Phylicia portrayed Claire as a woman who demanded respect, not through yelling or harshness, but with an intellectual command that made every word count. She spoke the truth with calm authority, and that rang in people's minds. It wasn't just entertaining, it was transformative for many young black women growing up in the 1980s. They saw in Claire a vision of themselves they had never imagined possible. The Cosby Show did more than succeed in ratings. It reshaped the cultural narrative around black families. The Huxtables shattered the tired trope of the broken black household and offered a different reality, one that had always existed, but had rarely been spotlighted in mainstream media. Claire's character, in particular, challenged the stereotype of the submissive, voiceless black woman or the overbearing, emotionally distant mother. Instead, she was loving but firm, beautiful but grounded, commanding but tender. She helped redefine what black femininity could look like on television. Across the country, young black viewers watched the Huxtables and saw possibilities. College suddenly seemed more achievable. Marriage looked fulfilling, not burdensome. Parenthood was portrayed as a journey of growth and love, rather than strife and survival. For many families, Thursday nights became sacred, a time to gather, laugh, and be seen. The show also had tangible effects on education. At its height, The Cosby Show was credited with a spike in applications to historically black colleges and universities, largely due to its consistent celebration of black academic excellence and positive portrayals of college life. It made black success feel not just aspirational, but normal. Off-camera, Phylicia was more than just an actress reading lines. She was an integral part of the show's tone and message. She was known for her professionalism and presence on set. She helped maintain a culture of excellence. Cast members have often spoken about the family-like environment behind the scenes, one in which she played a major role. As the seasons progressed, her input into the development of Claire's character grew. She ensured Claire never slipped into a supporting role, always remaining the intellectual and emotional backbone of the show. While Bill Cosby was the star and creator, it was Phylicia who brought balance, who carried the heart of the show. During the 8-season run from 1984 to 1992, she became a national symbol of maternal wisdom and black professional womanhood. She received Emmy nominations and NAACP Image Awards for her work. But more importantly, she became an enduring cultural figure. To many, she was their mother, their auntie, their teacher, their North Star. Even today, decades after the show ended, its cultural effects are unmistakable. From sitcoms like Black-ish and The Bernie Mac Show, to modern-day dramas like This Is Us, the influence of The Cosby Show is deeply felt. Claire Huxtable remains a benchmark for excellence in television writing and performance. She wasn't perfect, but she was fully formed, and that alone was revolutionary. Her presence on screen carved out space for countless portrayals of black women that followed. The show gave America a vision of a black family that was layered, loving, funny, and unshakably human. Phylicia Rashad was its moral compass, its intellectual anchor, and its emotional core. For 8 years, she helped millions of viewers reimagine what black womanhood could look like, and that vision still resonates today. Whether she was delivering a stern lecture to one of her children, sharing a quiet moment with her husband, or arguing a legal court case, she did it with an authenticity and elegance that made her unforgettable. The next chapter of The Cosby Show story is harder to tell. The controversy that would later emerge around Bill Cosby forced many to reevaluate everything the show had stood for, and this had its effects on the cast, especially on her. The controversial shadows over The Cosby Show's legacy and its lasting impact on Phylicia Rashad and the cast. For nearly a decade, The Cosby Show stood as a towering cultural beacon of black excellence, a revolutionary portrayal of a stable black family filled with love and humor. It changed the landscape of American television and inspired a generation. Sadly, in the years after its finale, and especially in mid-2010, the show's legacy was irreversibly marred by a series of allegations and legal battles that brought its star and creator, Bill Cosby, into public disgrace. What followed was not just a fall from grace for one man, but a collective reckoning for the cast, for fans, and for a wider society that had invested so deeply in the image the show projected. Among those most affected was Phylicia Rashad. She had long been admired for her role as the wise and graceful Claire Huxtable, and now she suddenly found herself in a storm she did not create, but from which she could not escape. Though whispers and rumors had circulated for years, the real explosion began in 2014, when comedian Hannibal Buress publicly called Bill Cosby a molester during a stand-up routine in Philadelphia. The remark went viral, and within weeks, decades-old allegations of sexual assault resurfaced, some newly filed, some previously dismissed or settled privately. The media quickly picked up the story, and the narrative snowballed. Women from across the country, which ultimately totaled over 60, came forward with allegations of sexual misconduct, use of harmful substances, and worse accusations spanning from the 1960s to the early 2000s. The sheer number and consistency of the stories were shocking, even to those who had long held him in high regard. By 2015, he was charged criminally in Pennsylvania for an incident involving Andrea Constand, a former Temple University employee. In 2018, he was found guilty on 3 counts of aggravated indecent assault and sentenced to 3 to 10 years in prison. The conviction was later overturned in 2021 on a legal technicality, and that was not on the merits of the case. Though the conviction was overturned, the damage to his reputation and the show's legacy was already done. While Bill became the focus of the legal proceedings, the rest of the Cosby Show cast was caught in the ripple effects. For actors like Malcolm Jamal Warner, Tempest Bledsoe, Sabrina LaBeouf, and Keshia Knight Pulliam, the public now viewed their defining work through a lens of suspicion, sadness, and confusion. Syndications of the show were pulled. TV Land, Bounce TV, and other networks removed reruns from rotation. Royalties dried up. What had once been a source of pride and a body of work that symbolized family unity and cultural representation was suddenly considered radioactive, and no one wanted anything to do with it. Some cast members remained largely silent. Others, like Malcolm Jamal Warner, spoke out cautiously, expressing sorrow for the victims while lamenting the loss of a legacy that had meant so much to so many. He said in a 2018 interview, "The work we did, the legacy we left, the doors we opened, it all feels overshadowed now." Still, no reaction received more attention or more scrutiny than that of Phylicia Rashad. Phylicia's initial response to the allegations was firm and controversial. In a 2015 interview with Showbiz 411, she dismissed the growing accusations, saying, "Forget these women. What you're seeing is the destruction of a legacy, and I think it's orchestrated." Many were stunned. A woman long admired for her poise and advocacy had, in the eyes of critics, turned her back on victims of sexual violence. To some, her comments felt like a betrayal, especially given her stature as a role model for women, particularly black women. As more evidence surfaced and a criminal conviction was handed down, Phylicia's continued defense of Bill became a flashpoint. When his conviction was overturned in 2021, she tweeted, "Finally, a terrible wrong is being righted. A miscarriage of justice is corrected." The backlash was swift. Students and faculty at Howard University, where she had recently been appointed dean of the Chadwick A. Boseman College of Fine Arts, demanded accountability. Many felt her statement mocked the experiences of survivors and sent a troubling message to the young people under her lead. Within days, she issued a statement of clarification, writing, "I fully support survivors of sexual assault coming forward. My post was in no way intended to be insensitive to their truth." Howard University also released a statement reaffirming its commitment to survivors. Though it stopped short of any disciplinary action, what happened to The Cosby Show wasn't just a celebrity scandal. It was a collapse of cultural memory. For decades, the Huxtables had symbolized hope, progress, and possibility. They were a balm in a media landscape that too often painted black life in narrow strokes. Now, audiences were grappling with cognitive dissonance. How could a show that meant so much, that helped so many, be the product of a man capable of such alleged harm? And what did that mean for the rest of the cast, many of whom had no knowledge of his off-screen behavior? For Phylicia, the situation was even more complex. She had been the show's moral center. People projected their trust onto her. Her defense of Bill Cosby was not just seen as loyalty, it was interpreted, rightly or wrongly, as a dismissal of truth, of accountability, and of pain. This left many of her longtime admirers in conflict. Could one separate the artist from the art? Was Claire Huxtable still a symbol of strength if the woman who played her seemed unmoved by the suffering of others? The answer isn't an easy one to give and remains unresolved. Since the height of the controversy, Phylicia has largely kept a lower public profile. Her role as dean at Howard has continued, and many students continue to speak highly of her leadership, mentorship, and presence on campus. Still, the shadow of the scandal lingers. When she appears in interviews or public panels, questions about Bill Cosby are inevitable. Even her most recent acting roles in shows like This Is Us or films like Creed are accompanied by commentary about her past remarks. To her credit, she has not doubled down in the way some public figures have. Her 2021 apology stopped short of a retraction, but it acknowledged the hurt caused. She has remained poised as always, but more guarded, perhaps finally understanding that public perception is no longer on automatic pilot. For others in the cast, the scandal has complicated their careers in quieter ways. Some have distanced themselves. Others have stayed loyal but silent. Nearly all agree on one thing: what happened off-screen doesn't erase what The Cosby Show meant to millions of people, but it does force a deeper, more painful conversation about legacy, power, and harm. In recent years, cultural critics, scholars, and fans alike have wrestled with whether The Cosby Show should still be watched or even remembered. Some argue that the show's impact on Black representation, education, and identity cannot be undone by one man's crimes. Others believe its continued airing is disrespectful to survivors and a painful reminder of what was hidden behind the scenes. The debate is not unique to The Cosby Show. It echoes similar discussions about problematic figures in film, music, and literature. But because of the show's specific role in Black cultural history, the stakes feel higher. For many, it's possible to hold two truths: that The Cosby Show was a work of undeniable importance, and that its creator did irrevocable harm. For those who grew up seeing themselves in the Huxtables, that complexity is heartbreaking, but also very necessary. In many ways, Phylicia Rashad remains an icon. Her body of work is expansive. Her impact is enduring. She continues to teach, to act, and to speak, though perhaps with more caution than before. The controversy surrounding The Cosby Show has visibly altered her public image. What was once near universal admiration is now more fragmented into a blend of reverence, disappointment, empathy, and criticism. She is no longer just Claire Huxtable. She is a woman who has lived through the rise and fall of an empire, who has defended a man others see as indefensible, and who continues to stand firm in her beliefs, however contested they may be. What do you think about Phylicia Rashad's story? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. To enjoy more exciting videos, click play on the video on your screen. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you get notified when a new video drops.